Countdown right now, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. Before we get started, I'm going to say to everyone here to hit that like button, hit that notification tab and subscribe button on YouTube, and follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and all will be well. And it's almost 2023, so let's hope that 2023 is going to be better for everybody. We can hope. So some announcements here to be made starting in 2023. 2023 is going to be a pretty busy year. Now, I have a Saturday night stream that I usually do for KRTD Media that due to KRTD Media, Chicago Corner, Heartlands Media, and Savvy Savs working together on their New Year's Eve celebration. And I'm new to KRTD, so because I'm so new that I'm not doing a live stream that day. I'll just be observing whenever I can the New Year's celebration during the course of the day. And so maybe next year. So I will be doing my Saturday night stream tomorrow. On Sunday evening at 9:00 to make up, and then we'll resume back to Saturday nights as I normally do. So that's where we're at right now. Some other exciting announcement. Guests. We're going to be having some guests too on my program pretty soon. Confirmed. Thomas Solberry from Tommy Nation Politics will be a guest next week on my show. We agree on next Thursday on a time to be determined, and you'll be notified and that will be next Thursday. I forgot what day of the week it is. On January 10th, James Fauntleroy from JB Font RBN would be on a guest on my show. On the 16th, Keaton Weiss and Russell Dubler from Due Dissidence would be a guest on my show as well. So, and in February, on a date to be determined. We're working on a date to be determined. Fiorella Isabel from Combo Couch will also be a guest on the show, and we have a couple of other surprises here and there too as well. So there you have it, and so we're going to be pretty busy. So and I want to talk about watching Rising. Yes, last night while I was at work. Yeah, I can do that while I'm working. The saying, you walk and chew gum. I don't chew gum, but I was working. I was watching Rising, and Briahna Joy Gray had something to say in terms of the Democratic Party that I am inclined to agree with. And I honestly, we need to go and and listen to what she says. The Democratic Party needs to listen to what she says. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party do not know how to take common sense advice. If the Democratic Party will do things that will not work for them and will reject things that's been working, they will toss it aside. That's just how it's always been. So what I'm going to do to save time, I'm going to go and speed it up, but you'll be able to understand the meat and potatoes of what's being discussed here. So let me go ahead and put it on 1.5, 1.25, and we'll get started here. All right, and let's get started.
Briahna, what's on your radar? I don't know how to sugarcoat this, Robbie, so I'll just say it. It seems clear that the Democratic Party is over. I saw the writing on the wall and left after the Obama years. He was probably the best the party had to offer, and he revealed himself to be a truly disappointing character. You could drive a Bronco through the gap between his campaign promises and reality, and 14 years after he promised hope and change, we still have no campaign finance reform, Roe isn't codified, and instead of using his incredible political gifts to advance the interests of the communities he was supposed to represent, he's now angling to buy a basketball team. I guess it's easier to crush a future strike if you own a franchise. Now, that's not to say he did nothing. It's meaningful, truly, to not be denied health insurance because of a pre-existing condition. It matters that 35 million Americans got insurance in the first place through the ACA.
Yes, and everything that Briahna Joy Gray said is true, 100% true. However, the fact that the only way that the ACA could have ever worked would have been through a public option, and even a public option would not be sufficient enough to tackle the problems of medical inflation. Honestly, I would even go as far as to say the Canadian style Medicare for all system, which is superior to the ACA, which was invented by the Heritage Foundation. It's not even called Obamacare. For I want to have that clarified even to this day. I have to tell conservatives that Obamacare is not Obamacare. There's no such a thing as Obamacare. It's the Heritage Foundation plan. It might be Romney Care, actually. But the best way to solve the healthcare crisis is to implement a national health service, the way it's done in the UK. I want to have that clarified. I don't think that Briahna Joy Gray would disagree with me, but anyway.
It wasn't enough. I was hopeful that an independent senator from Vermont might right the ship. Bernie stood up to Barack Obama when he threatened to cut Social Security. He truly was unbought by corporate money and was willing to call out the banks that destroyed American homeowners in 2008, even while Barack Obama was consulting with those banks to pick his cabinet. But even Bernie failed to take the type of stand that could have rescued poor and working class people from the corporate duopoly. Push come to shove, when he should have been fighting for our lives at the start of the pandemic, he told America that Biden would be a good president, that he wasn't corrupt, and he endorsed him within days of dropping out of the race.
And that's the problem with Bernie Sanders, the empathy factor. And this is why I've been very critical of Bernie Sanders lately. What is one of his best qualities is also one of his worst qualities, his empathy. Joe Biden treated him nice when he became a senator, so he felt guilty. So he didn't want to go and offend his good. He didn't want to hurt his good friend's feelings. Joe Biden, come on now, really? I mean, and again, I mean, to a point, it's understandable. There's a difference between the demeanor of Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's easier to hate, I have to admit, but Joe Biden's pretty lousy as far as his performance as president. We haven't had a good president in decades. So he's par for the course. I just call it Tuesday when I think of shitty presidents.
Declining to even withhold his endorsement for anything at all. The populist left is such a non-entity that it couldn't go 24 hours without bending the knee to liberal know-nothings, withdrawing a letter, the most milquetoast critique of Biden's policy toward Russia-Ukraine. The letter didn't ask to withdraw aid at all. It merely asked, Oliver Twist style, please, may I have some peace?
And that is true. We're back to the year 2014 right now. The populist left movement that was building up, and there was a lot of optimism at that time, but that optimism pretty much diminished. I would say it diminished when Bernie Sanders dropped out in 2020, and it quickly started dashing away. I would say between Bernie Sanders dropping out and rejection of forced to vote, because theoretically, We were supposed to go and make Biden and Harris's life miserable, Nancy Pelosi's life miserable, Chuck Schumer's life miserable, until they go and meet our demands. That's what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to do that. I mean, even as sorry as Bosch is as a streamer, he even said, "Oh, once we get Biden in there, we will pressure him. We will constantly hold him accountable to the point where he will go and kind of meet us halfway." Did not happen. It did not happen. It did not happen. Of course, Bosch, as usual, is wrong. So there you have it.
Progressives still couldn't stick the landing. But despite all of that, libs are gearing up to blame powerless progressives for what they anticipate will be a disastrous midterm result. Here's Chuck Todd this week on MSNBC.
5 words.
I'm so sorry about the commercial, folks. I've been trying to get an ad blocker installed. Hold on.
I'm sure in some of these places, I think there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. Progressives are going to take some heat for forcing some certain nominees in certain states that may have been less electable than other nominees could have been. The defund the police movement, all of this.
I'm sorry, which precarious Democratic candidate said they wanted to defund the police? Was it Fetterman, the guy who famously chased down a black man vigilante style at gunpoint because he thought he committed a crime? He hadn't committed a crime. Or Stacey Abrams, who after flirting with actual progressivism for about half a second, has run hard on fund the police harder. It's probably costing her black male votes in Georgia. Midterms haven't even happened yet, and the Democratic Party gatekeepers, whose purpose is to run cover for the complete and total political malfeasance of liberals, are already in excuse-making mode. Their diagnosis of why Dems are flailing, same as always. Somehow, it's progressives' fault. The blame, however, lies squarely at Biden's feet. For one, he's done next to nothing about inflation, punting action to the Fed, which acts independently, and whose only plan is to purposefully cause a recession by raising interest rates. In an article published yesterday in Vox, reporter Rachel Cohen asks, is the cure for inflation worse than the disease? The Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes mean 1.2 million people will become unemployed by the end of 2023. Others estimate that number could be as high as 3.2 million Americans out of a job. Quote, I wish there was a less painful way to do that, said Fed Reserve Chair Jay Powell. There isn't. Oh, well, I guess. Sucks to be you. The pain is the point, by the way. They are trying to slow down consumption by literally taking away your salary. The super consuming rich, though, no one's trying to curb their consumption.
And that's what we call business as usual. You see right there where it says punch left? That's the solution these days. It's not just the Republicans that loves to punch left. And as the Republicans have convinced people that the Democrats are, quote unquote, the left. So Democrats and left are conflated together, and they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. As Kashama Sawant was saying on the Bad Faith podcast with Briahna Joy Gray to Ryan Grimjob, that basically the Democratic Party, and I'm paraphrasing her, is a dead end, that we need a working class, independent third party, that does not have to rely on the Democratic Party. And she was telling the truth about that. So there'll be a little more on Kashama Sawant in just a few moments here.
No, a wealth tax is firmly off the table, as are the types of interventions Europeans have fought for and secured, like a cap on energy prices. Biden's blacks say, don't blame him. He did the Inflation Reduction Act, but the Inflation Reduction Act was fact-checked by the Congressional Budget Office, and guess what? It basically does nothing to reduce inflation. And although the Democratic lawmakers introduced a bill in May that would seek to address one of the roots of the problem, banning price gouging, it hasn't passed the Senate and won't pass the Senate with the current congressional composition, a composition that, if polls are to be believed, is only going to get worse, redder, next year. It's no wonder then that Republicans are considered to be better than Democrats on inflation, even though their stated plan consists of cutting Social Security and Medicare.
And that is always the plan. And this is why I tell people, when it comes to the shitty jobs that the Democrats do, and they always do a shitty job, it's like they can't conceive of voting for third party. It's a waste of time to vote for third party. So they always go with the Republicans. That ends up making things worse. It's always more privatization of schemes, more tax cuts for the wealthy, more of deregulations, means testing of programs. And I was trying to think of that term when I was trying to talk about that on Tommy Nation's Politics the other night. Means testing was the term I was trying to use. Yeah, they want to means test Social Security and Medicare to turn it into a welfare program, which would create not just class-based resentment, but will also create a race-based resentment too, which will make it easier for Republicans to win with dog whistles, as they normally try to do. And when you keep programs universal and you keep them as entitlements, you keep the controversy race out of this situation, and you realize we're all in this together in this country. So and there are forces out there on both sides that don't want this to happen. The shit libs, corporate Democrats don't want this to happen for their own reasons, and right-wing Republicans don't want this to happen, and they all bow down toward the same corporate overlords in this country, and we're divided more than ever as a result.
After all, how can it get any worse? We know the main driver of inflation is corporate greed. California populist Katie Porter made this case before Congress last week, and a fact check by the Economic Policy Institute and the Roosevelt Institute proved her right. Quote, a large portion of price increases are going to profits for larger corporations and services like groceries, furniture, and cars. Katie Porter's charts don't lie. But what are Dems going to do about it? Nothing. They will barely even talk about it.
That's very correct. That is extremely correct. And again, I apologize for the ads. I've been trying to get an ad blocker installed. I'm having trouble. Okay, hold on a second here.
The price of a bag of Snickers has more than doubled, Bernie tweeted recently, but Republicans want to give the Mars family, who became 44% richer during the pandemic and are now worth $106 billion, a tax break of up to $42 billion by repealing the estate tax. Nice tweet, but without the message discipline to make sure anyone not terminally online sees it, it doesn't exist in the Democratic Party. Good thing they've been spending so much energy messaging about saving democracy. This is a moment for real, independent, populist progressives to stand up to the plate, but they're nowhere to be found. This week, AOC ignored the progressive media that put her on the map, choosing once again to speak on a large liberal platform for people who like her, as far as she's a young, articulate Latina who doesn't criticize Biden too much. During her Pod Save America interview, she said a number of insightful things that were, in fact, an accurate diagnosis of what Democrats are doing wrong. And you should listen to that full interview. There's good stuff in there, but she also said this.
Special interests. Our entire political system is designed to be very, very acquiescent to money. And the difference is that Republicans, that is part of Republican ideology, is to support corporate America. I think the Democratic Party, we really struggle because we're supposed to be the party of the working class. But in reality, there's a lot in our big tent. It's highly segmented.
What gets on my nerves about AOC is that she knows how to say, hold on a second here. She knows how to say the right things, but she says the right things. She votes wrong. If there's anybody out here in the audience that still simps for AOC, I'm going to kindly ask for y'all to stop that, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is out of touch, and she's just another Democrat now. I just want y'all to realize that. Anybody out there who still thinks AOC is wonderful and everything, and I was one of those people at one time. AOC is a fraud. They call it the fraud squad for a reason. And I don't want to say this. I want to be wrong, and I hope that there'll be a time where I could talk about AOC and be proud of her again, but I just don't see it happening. She's just been one disappointment after the other. But anyway.
This is the problem with left electeds. They're often spot on and even more often are so close to saying something true, but then miss. Look, our politics are being killed by special interests, both Republicans and Democrats. But AOC weirdly pivots when she gets to the Democrats, saying that the real struggle, after saying that the Republicans have this problem with special interests, that the real struggle for Democrats is the party's diversity. The problem, she says, is that we're a big tent. I mean, give me a break. How can alienated voters, of which there are a huge and growing number, begin to understand that they should be following you, that left populism offers more than right populism, that you have real solutions if you refuse to call out your own party as bought and sold too? She used to call Dems out. It was why we loved her. But if this is the best the Democrats have to offer, I have to think that there's no hope. Look, I'm not optimistic, but I hope to God that the Forward Party, the Green Party, or even Libertarians can get their act together and figure out how to mount a real challenge to the two-party duopoly, because things are looking bleak. We're in a world where the right offers up a fake social conservative who has been alleged to pay for multiple abortions while he's simultaneously playing the choir boy. And the liberals are offering up a fracking-loving vigilante who likes to citizens arrest black men in his spare time. And neither of them, for very different reasons that engender very different levels of empathy, can really articulate their platform, much less inspire the kind of political revolution this country needs. We are on a precipice, and I, for one, am scared, and I'm tired. And I'm seeing protests getting more and more extreme on both sides of the aisle. And honestly, even though I disagree with some of the choices people are making, I get it. Riots, after all, are the language of the unheard, both on 1/6 and during the George Floyd protests. We have everything we need to truly make America great again. The people were never the problem. The problem has always been elite gatekeepers. Will anyone stand up and show the people how much power we really have? Or do I have to look forward to the Herschel versus Fetterman ticket or Herschel versus Fetterman in 2028?
There's more to that. And yeah, I could go and put down the link on the description box when I'm done here. But I think you get the gist of what she's trying to say. And basically, she says basically what I've been saying all along. She said it in a more articulate way than I ever could. I'm just so dry and long-winded in how I go about this sort of thing. But the Democrats, they have it within their power to win elections. It's so damn easy to win elections, and they reject it. And then some of them end up tricking themselves into thinking it's 1993, and they don't want to have someone like Rush Limbaugh type out there to go and scream on the radio about the Democrats being too far left. So they back off, and they're tepid and they're scared. I feel like that's what's happened. It's like they're scared of the 1993 Rush Limbaugh talking points rolling over them, and in their fears, it's rolled over them multiple times, over and over and over, and they get their asses kicked. And then when they get their asses kicked, who do they blame? Susan Sarandon. They blame Briahna Joy Gray. They blame the Bernie Bros. They blame, Jimmy Dore. They blame, Russia. They'll blame Tulsi Gabbard, or they'll blame, Ralph Nader, Dennis Kucinich, you name it. They'll blame everybody. They'll blame everybody, but except for who needs to be blamed. They don't blame the right wing of the Democratic Party. They don't. They're less mad at Kirsten Sinema leaving the Democratic Party than they are with the so-called Bernie Bros that are the foot soldiers that held their nose and voted for crappy corporate Democrats and threw up afterwards, figuratively speaking. So, and that's where we're at in this country right now. And, Tim Black said that both parties suck, Johnson. And he was correct when he says that. And I've argued long and over a long time that we need an independent Labor Party, and I see no other way. Everybody keep on telling me, oh, you got to work within the Democrats. You got to work within the Democrats, and it sounds good on paper. Sounds good. Work within the Democratic Party. Try to go inside and take over its institutions. When people like Kyle Kalinske and Cenk Uygur were talking about creating the Justice Democrats to do a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party almost a decade ago. Good Lord, about 2016, 2015, something like that. When they're talking about creating the Justice Democrats, it sounded great on paper. Hostile takeover of the Democratic Party, take the prisoners. Sounded great on paper. But what it has achieved, it has achieved a handful of Democrats getting elected with that get elected on a good platform, but once they're elected, they do next to nothing. And sometimes even worse than next to nothing, they work and vote against us, like with AOC's vote against the rail workers recently. That was the last straw right there. I mean, you can be patient on a lot of other shit, but on that one, and for DSA to be as tepid as, I mean, I guess I can understand why they're a little nervous about being tepid, but honestly, there's no reason. You needed to go and say, what the fuck, squad, are you doing? Minus Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib did the right thing, and she voted with the rail workers. But what I'm trying to say is, what the fuck? Why? Why do you do these things? I mean, when you have AOC voting in the U.S. House, voting to the right of fucking Ted Cruz in the U.S. Senate on this issue, you just going to go and allow the Republicans to in certain limited cases look more populist? There's not a goddamn populist thing about Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley. And you're going to make them look more populist than you, AOC? What the fuck? Seriously. What the hell? Gosh. I mean, what in the world? And we can't have nice things in this country because, the Democratic establishment knows that we on the left are like frightened little children. I don't mean our audience here on the left, but I'm talking about those who rely on the Democratic Party. I'm talking about legitimately good people who are grassroots voters that try to have faith in the Democratic Party and institutionally and hope that they can do something positive. It's a dead end. And I mean, I tried. I've been very independent most of the time, but there's been times that it's been tempting to go back into the Democratic Party, and I've tiptoed back in several times. I got excited in the 1990s, late 1990s, with the prospects of Paul Wellstone running for president one of these days. And of course, he died in a plane crash. 2004 and 2008, I got excited by the prospects of Dennis Kucinich. Some of y'all can laugh if you like. He's a good man. He's probably the only person that's a Democrat worth respecting. But he's they didn't take him seriously. And God bless him. I get a little irritated with Bernie, but I mean, I do think he tried. Some people say some people get cynical, say he's just cheap-hearted. I'm not excited by the prospects of him running in 2024. I don't think he's going to run in 2024. I don't think he's going to run in 2024. I think that, I think Joe Biden's going to run for re-election. I didn't think he was going to run for re-election. I thought he was going to be a one-termer, but he ended up turning into, someone that's going to try to make a second go of this, only because his ass didn't get totally kicked in the midterms. And again, I gave y'all my explanation that the Republican Party ran such extreme nutcases. When you're trying to run as many Marjorie Taylor Greens out there as possible, I mean, I'm delighted that a lot of Americans were turned off by it. Just, there was a lot of Americans that were turned off by it, and there was a time that I don't think it would have been that way. It would have worked out that way necessarily. There was a time that I think that sounding extreme right wing was unfortunately a plus for a lot of Americans. But apparently, the tide is turning, and they know crazy when they see it, and hopefully, as horrible as Marjorie Taylor Greene is, and some people say, "Oh, you suffer from Marjorie Taylor Greene derangement syndrome." You damn right I do, because she's a dangerous woman. I mean, she's the Turner Diaries, a novel with legs and arms walking around. I said what I said. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the Turner Diaries with legs and arms walking around. She's that level dangerous, in my opinion. And so someone like that, I mean, she's going to be very powerful. I mean, she had Kevin McCarthy wrapped around her finger and everything. Of course, it's going to be a rocky 2 years for the Republicans, because there's a rift in the Republican Party right now. Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert are not seeing eye to eye with Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Kevin McCarthy situation. And Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene don't see eye to eye between the Trump brand and the DeSantis brand. So it's going to be beautiful seeing the civil war going on. And again, it's going to be entertainment watching Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis throw verbal flame bombs on Twitter at each other. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful watching that. I'm going to enjoy watching that. So, and let them, because I don't believe in the two-party system, but some people are, we know the Republican Party is still worse, and you want either Trump or DeSantis damage. Let them fight and enjoy it. Enjoy the battle. Let them fight. Encourage it if you can. Encourage it. Try to encourage it. Egg them on if you can, because you want them to be damaged goods in the election. As for the Democrats, can hope that they try to do better. But I'm still going to be voting third party in. It's not going to matter in North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina is hopelessly a red state. It's going to remain a red state. You got Raleigh, and Chapel Hill. You got Greensboro. You got Charlotte, Nashville, and the Wilmington area, which is blue, very blue areas. But the rest of the state is solid, hard, deep red. I live in deep red country. I live in Trump country. I'm in Johnson County. You can't get any more red in Johnson County in North Carolina. I'm sure there are areas more red than, but it's pretty damn red around here. The red curtains in the background, it's not pro-Republican or pro-Trump. No, that's the red for working class socialism. And I wish that the left can take the red back from the Republicans. How dare they take the red away from us? But anyhow. So anyway, I'm going to try to make this stream a little bit short, but I want to conclude with something that's comical here. So let me go ahead and share this with y'all, and I'll do that. And here's an example of Ryan Grimjob getting the treatment from getting the business, shall I say, from Kashama Sawant of Seattle and Briahna Joy Gray on the Bad Faith podcast. It was just beautiful seeing this. And of course, this is a parody. It's the real video from the podcast, but it's been edited by Turncoat Don, who's a political satirist. I will put the link on the channel too when I'm done here in the description box. So please do enjoy this. So I'll let y'all watch this.
So, but maybe the workers don't want to be part of this fantasy play.
What the actual fuck? We on the left, I'm not talking about people like Ryan. I mean, those of us who genuinely want to defend working people, We have the obligation to call out both elected officials who have betrayed us and also the labor leaders who have betrayed us. I don't know how much Ryan actually knows about the labor movement. I have been a rank and file member of the labor movement. I've been a delegate to the Labor Council. I have spent 10 years as an elected representative. Nobody in their right mind, Ryan, maybe despite being a political analyst, you thought that the Senate, there was any chance of the Senate voting yes on a paid sick leave bill? Yeah, Ryan Grim doesn't worry me. The workers who are listening to this understand that he's engaging in sophistry and he's completely misrepresenting what I said. The truth, though, is it's not about Ryan Grim. It is about people like him. We cannot trust people like Ryan Grim. Ryan Grim says, never let politicians out of your sight, while at the same time defending those same politicians who have sold out working people. I would say to working people, never let politicians out of your sight, but never let people like Ryan Grim out of your sight. Politicians couldn't sell workers out without the Ryan Grims of the world defending their betrayals. Politicians rely on the left cover of people exactly like Ryan here, making the rounds, making excuses or vicious attacks on the working class. Not only that, but turning around and accusing fighters for workers, socialists like myself, as somehow being against workers. I've seen this all the time in Seattle. If the Democrats on the council weren't given cover by people like them, they would not be able to do what they do, which is sell workers out over and over again.
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
Okay, and that's Turncoat Don, a very talented political satirist. I urge you to subscribe to his channel. He always managed to put a smile on my face with a lot of his commentary. So and all of that. So anyway, and Kshama Sawant, here's the thing about her. AOC, if you're listening, Tulsi Gabbard, if you're listening, take cue from a Seattle councilwoman, Kshama Sawant. Listen to what she's got to say. Put that practice into your own personal politics. That's what I got to say to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and that's what I got to say to Tulsi Gabbard. The two members of Congress I used to practically simp and worship at one time, that I am angry at these days. Listen to Kshama Sawant. Please, for the love of God, listen to Kshama Sawant. She knows what she's talking about. So anyway, we have here on the chat line, and I have a new subscriber here, Keaton Weiss from Due Dissidence, subscribe to my channel. Thank you. I am honored. Thank you, Keaton Weiss. I just saw that a few moments ago, so thank you for that subscription. That actually makes my day. And I'm at 500 now, so thank you. And everybody, please do subscribe to my channel. Help it make my channel grow. Please do so. Snipe Hunter says, "Hi, Lou. Hey, how are you doing, Snipe Hunter? It's been a while." Hey, Warren, how are you doing? Love the show yesterday. Watched Fiorella. Looking forward to watching the end of the year show tomorrow. See, and y'all, if you get a chance, subscribe to Warren's program, Extra Booyah. His program, great show. And he has a show on Saturday night called The Secret Show at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Highly recommended as well. It's on Extra Booyah as well on that channel. We'll put the link down as well. And let's see. Congratulations on 500 subscribers. I thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's see. You'll be beating. Oh yeah. We talked about Dave Cooler. Yeah. I remember that. Yes. And Dirtbag Leftist. Great name, by the way. Yeah. Hey, how are you doing today? And oh, by the way, How do you feel since you're in Lauren Boebert's district, her and Marjorie Taylor Greene not being too chummy these days? Isn't it just delicious that they are not particularly fond of each other at the moment? Let's see here. Anyone who wants Marjorie Taylor Greene in power is someone whose opinion does not matter. Oh, it matters, but it matters for the worse. They're just deranged people. Let's see. Artie says, love you, Willie. Likewise, Artie. Let's see. Keep grinding out the content, my man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And it looks like that's all we got here. Oh, yes, see here. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny them fighting. Yes, it is. I was watching Farron Cousins a couple of months ago about the white nationalist conference that Marjorie Taylor Greene attended, America First, with Nick Fuentes, and apparently Lauren Boebert was embarrassed by it, whether she was truly so or whether it was like just bad PR on the movement or what have you. She got very angry with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene got very angry with her, and they were about ready to fight it out. And it was delicious, just delicious knowing that it happened. Farron Cousins talked about that, and of course, I love hearing Farron Cousins. He's a bit of a normie Democrat, but I love hearing him talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz and all those clowns, because his delivery is funny. So, but anyhow, if y'all like what you heard, please press like and comment any ways you disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are the First Amendment. Because we are the muckrakers of our time. And on a side note, I am going to be focusing a lot in the year 2023 on Panquake, which is something that's going to set the social media world, figuratively speaking, on fire. So next step in Talk Liberation on free speech, hosted in Iceland. And I urge each and every one of y'all to look into Panquake, and y'all hear me talk more about that too. So anyway, also I want to urge each and every one of you to always reject corporate media and get a second opinion. Get 23, 24, 25 opinions if you can. And I will conclude to let you know to have a happy new year. You may see one or two more videos from me. You may. So anyway, before the year's up, but take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.